So welcome back to obviously Fight Talk, and this is UFC Fight Night 123, Swanson versus Ortega, going down in Fresno this Saturday night. We're going to just look at the top 3 fights on the card. We're going to start with Marlon Moraes taking on Aljamain Sterling. We spoke with Aljamain earlier, but Rob, you know, you might be a little... I always find when you interview a fighter, you get a little taken in, but what's your thoughts on the fight?
First point... Just before we start recording this section,
I made a mess.
He goes, Marlon Moraes, jeez, I have that name down.
Moraes,
and then we're on air and he makes an absolute mess of it.
What did I say? Did I say
Marlon Moraes or something he said.
Moraes,
yeah, made a mess of it. I think I said it.
It's because I'm looking at
it. I said it earlier in the show. This is a better fight, in my opinion, than the previous fight that Sterling had in Ronnie Yaya. It's a great fight. Marlon Moraes was one of those guys who, when he wasn't signed with the UFC, everybody wanted him to be signed with the UFC, and he's a really, really good bantamweight. Aljamain Sterling's been with the UFC for a long time. I do think that he's lost a little bit of steam. He's kind of gained it back now, but with those 2 split decision losses, there was at one time people were talking about Aljamain Sterling being the future of this division, and I think that he could be. So I think a lot of people are going to start talking about if he could beat Marlon Moraes.
Obviously, we just thought we seen Marlon fight literally 3-4 weeks ago. So what do we think? Is there a hole in his game that Sterling can take advantage of?
I think, there's a couple of... I think the reach could be a huge thing, because Marlon Moraes, the way he fights, he really likes to get in and out. It's similar to Frankie Edgar. And I think with Aljamain Sterling, who I believe has the biggest reach or the longest reach in that division, if you want to fact check that, you can. No. If not, it's okay. He uses reach pretty well. I thought Sterling turned the corner with his striking in his last fight. I thought it was really impressive against Renan Barão. And Renan Barão fights kind of similar to Marlon Moraes. I think Marlon relies a little bit more on his hands, where Barão likes to kick a lot more, even though Moraes has some great leg kicks. But I think the problem for Moraes will be the range. I think Aljamain Sterling can keep a really good range. Takedowns, I think Aljamain has the advantage there. So I think the big section of this fight where you're gonna pick a winner will be who can really enforce the range. Can Marlon Moraes get on the inside, or can Sterling stay on the outside?
I think a big factor in the fight as well is, like, he's coming off a hard fight against Sean Dodson. Like, he won the fight. I thought it was quite funny. I'm not funny, use the wrong word. I thought it was quite weird that it was split decision, that 2 judges got a 30-27 for Marlon Moraes, and the other judge got a 30-27 for Dodson. You're like, somebody was napping. But again, it was a 15-minute fight. So I asked Aljamain earlier in the show, I said, is that an advantage for you or for him? And he's like, look, I don't know. Let's see. Sterling thinks he has an advantage everywhere, really. And as we said, the rankings in the bantamweight division there, when you look up and you see it, it really is the who's who. So I think on any given night, any of these guys could beat one another. But I'm going to go with Sterling, and I just think, from talking to him, it could be just because of talking to him, he just sounds ultra confident. He's learned from his errors and his defeats. And he just say, I reckon he's going to mix up his wrestling and really, you know, he's not, as he said, he reckons he can take a shot that Marlon will land, but he doesn't think he can take his shot. So that's an interesting point as well. And you have seen Marlon in the past getting caught looking not out. He
definitely has a good chin. But on with you there, it could be because we spoke to him and sometimes you have that on. But before going into this, when I was doing a little bit of research, I was picking Sterling, mainly just because if you look back at some of Marlon's losses, it's when guys fight really, really smart on the outside, and I think Aljamain Sterling has the ability to do that. I think he can fight really smart on the outside using his range. I think that's going to be a problem. I think maybe he could win 2 out of the 3 rounds, something like that, where, because Moraes, he's a great fighter and he can win rounds, but I think when guys fight really smart against him, and I think that's going to be what Aljamain's going to do. I know he was talking about coming in and wanting to finish, but I think he's going to fight smart, and hopefully the finish comes for his sake. But I think he's going to be able to do it by over decision.
A big thing as well is belief. We talked about earlier with Brendan when we were looking and talking with yourself today as well, Rob, and we were saying, you know, Max Holloway just looks, you know, this ultra confidence of being the champion, you know, and so in a way, a take back from that. Sterling beating Renan Barão, former champion, that gotta give you confidence. Gotta win there.
Even though it's a Renan Barão who's not what he was at one time.
That's fair.
It's still Renan Barão. It's a former champion, and in some people's eyes, and even in my eyes, one of the best bantamweights of all time, if not the best right now. So yeah.
Your next bout of the evening for my guest, Jason Knight taking on Gabriel Benitez. Both fighters are coming off defeats, as if my memory serves me right. They're both in the UFC, like to do this. But what do we see here? Jason the Kid Knight against Gabriel Benitez.
Firstly, I'm very excited to see Jason Knight back. Tough fight against Ricardo Lamas. He asked for that fight. Might have been a little bit too quick to take that one. It was a tough fight. I think in this one though, I think skill wise he's a little bit underrated. He goes in there and he does brawl a lot, but he's actually, when he wants to be, he can be quite technical, and he's very skilled. And I think he's been in there with the better guys, and he just has that real grit and aggression. Like, it's a lot of guys who just can't deal with that type of aggression that he brings to the table, and I think that's going to be a problem for Benitez.
I agree. Like the Ricardo Lamas one, like it was almost his eagerness, and he wanted to go out in a shield. Like the fight that he had, he just wanted to keep coming back. But you got to give Ricardo Lamas absolutely unbelievable finish by him, and to get a finish on Jason Knight as well. That's a feather in the cap as well, because he's an absolute killer. But I just think Jason Knight has, as you said, Rob, he's fought the better guys, he's beaten the better guys. Like his win over Chad Skelly was absolutely that's just me mimicking Jason Knight. But his victory over Chad Skelly was stunning, a big victory as well, big knockout in the third round. But
Dan Hooker was a good win as well.
I think as well though, he's going to learn, and he shows like he can win. He can win on the judges' scorecards. He can win by a submission. And he can win via knockout. And I just think he's going to have too much for Gabriel Benitez coming into this one. So I pick Jason Knight, and I pick him to get the finish as well. I think he'll high pressure of violence. That's what he is. He's just a guy who loves fighting. When we spoke to him, I remember when we rang him on Skype, he was sitting there watching the fight back.
Yeah.
Just after he beat Chad Skelly, he was sitting there watching the fight, watching it and commentating as he was chatting away. And I just think he's a guy who loves what he's doing. Like it's a benefit for him, or the plus side. It's not the main factor that he gets paid to be a fighter.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a fighter if it was just a hobby.
Yeah.
But he's the type of guy in there that I'm interested to see what he's going to look like coming back from the defeat against Ricardo Lamas.
Yeah, that's one of the big points as well, coming back from that defeat, because it was a bad knockout loss for him. So it'd be interesting to see how he comes back from that one. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Jason Knight as well. I think his aggression, his activities, like extremely active going forward. I remember Benitez fought Andre Fili, and Andre Fili finished him. So I think it's going to be a similar situation. I think Jason Knight's going to be able to get the finish. I'm actually going to say by submission. I think he's going to drop him and finish him by submission.
Your main event sees Cub Swanson taking on Brian Ortega. T-City versus Cub Swanson. This one for me is this is a great fight.
It's a great fight.
I said it to you. I like, you know what, Rob? I'm going Ortega.
Straight off the bat.
And like a lot of people, when Frankie Edgar fell away from the Max Holloway fight, everyone thought the natural replacement here was going to be Cub Swanson. And I remember thinking at the time, well, that's fucking shit on Ortega, because like this is probably Ortega's, fair to say, this is probably Ortega's biggest fight, biggest name anyway. If he beats Cub Swanson, he's 13-0. He's on a 13. Obviously, if he's 13-0 now, he's obviously on a 13-fight win streak. So what else does he need to do here to get up the rankings? So like, I just think what I like about Ortega is he can strike. He can hit. He can finish. But when he gets people to the mat, this guy is legit. And I just think he's going to have too much for Cub Swanson. The Cub Swanson has shown great defense and great offense on the mat as well. But I don't know. I just fancy Ortega in this. Yeah,
it's a really weird one. I'm really torn on it, because initially when I seen the fight was announced, and over the last couple of weeks thinking about it, I was siding with Cub Swanson. I just think his striking is a bit more polished. Brian Ortega, he's actually turned into a pretty good striker, but it's really flashy. Like, it's a lot of flashy stuff. He'll throw a lot of like flashy
Cub used to be guilty of that.
Oh, 100, and he still is sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think Cub over the last few years has got a little bit more technical in his strike. And not that he wasn't technical back then, but I think more so he refused.
He used to throw more
looping,
risky shots.
Yeah, risky shots. I think he's a little smart, with that experience, I'm sure just comes, being a little bit smarter. But then thinking about, looking at Cub's last fight with Artem, not that he struggled, he dominated in the end, but he struggled in the first couple of rounds reading Artem's technique. And that could be similar with Brian Ortega, because Brian Ortega doesn't really throw stuff normally. And then on the ground, it could be really interesting. Max Holloway made work of Cub Swanson on the ground. Brian Ortega, he's the type of guy who gets you on the ground, and doesn't matter if he's on top, doesn't matter if he's on the bottom, he'll pull for something. And I'm just thinking, I'm thinking Brian Ortega wins by something weird on the ground. I think it's going to get to the ground somehow.
Twister.
Even if he pulls guard. Yeah. I think he's going to wrap him up in something, a triangle, something crazy.
Like if you look at Cub Swanson's last 4 fights of all, he's on a 4-fight win streak, and they've all gone to decision. Now he's won them all. He's won them all unanimously. He's won all the fights. He's won them well, but he's not getting finishes. While you then look at Ortega, and Ortega is winning by TKO, KO, submissions.
There's a couple of fights in there though where Brian Ortega, I'm not going to say struggling, but he wasn't looking great until the finish. He was kind of plodding along, and you kind of knew he needs a finish to get this done. So you'd have that risk as well, because Cub Swanson.
I'm right in saying that as Conor was saying, it takes him. Sometimes he feels he has to finish the fight in the third round, because a lot of his
lot come in the third round.
Yeah, so Cub Swanson, get it out of there before the third round. Yeah. Don't get the third round. But like it is, and like again, I'm going with Ortega because, again, obviously he's the young up-and-coming fighter, all this sort of stuff. But it's like when we spoke with Darren Till, it's like, Ortega, this is his coming out party, you know what I mean? As in, it's like when Till beat Cowboy, you know what I mean? A lot of people talk about Ortega and that he's good at this, he's always improving in a strike, and he's legit when it hits the mat. He can pull submissions from anywhere. He's a bit of a slow starter, all these things are just da. And it was for a long time, for his first few fights, it was at Darren Till, he's good, but he's not a finisher, he's not this, and then boom, Cowboy, and all of a sudden Brendan Schaub's his number one fan. He knows everything about him. He knows what he had for breakfast. He done everything. So this is what happens, and this, I think, will be Ortega's coming out party. If he was to finish Cub Swanson,
huge victory, huge victory. He does get hit though. He
does
get
hit, but like if you look,
he has a chin on him as well though.
Yeah, like if you look at Ortega, like he's similar age to Max Holloway. He's doing, like, that fight is the fight that down the line. Like I said it earlier as well when we were talking. I said,
so exciting as well.
Holloway is young. I think Holloway turned 26 today, actually.
Yeah.
So two of them are similar age, 26 years of age. So, this is a fight that potentially could be. These could be the 1 and 2 guys. Yeah. Max Holloway could be defending his belt against Brian Ortega if he gets if he beats Cub Swanson, right? That means you have Frankie Edgar out injured at the moment.
Yeah.
He's just beaten Jose Aldo. You know what I mean? Who's next for Holloway? So
it's mad,
big victory here for T-City, and
he is one of those guys as well who has that X factor. He has that grappling game that is crazy good. Like, it's anything can happen when it hits the floor, and that's always fun. Like, we were just talking about Francis Ngannou, who has that X factor of, this guy hits you, you're probably going to go down. And it's similar with Brian Ortega. If he wraps you up in something, he's a real finisher on the ground. And that's exciting. I really like guys who have that X factor. We're not going to cover the other fights on the card, but some decent ones there. Daryl Horcher against Scott Holtzman's a good one. Scott Holtzman's a bit of a grinder, where Daryl Horcher has some real knockout power, so that could be good. Eric Anders, I think he's a former football player. Again, another grinder versus Marcus Perez, who, watch out for chokes, because that guy has a serious amount of chokes on his resume. Benito Lopez against Albert Morales, decent scrap. Alexis Davis, who hasn't looked great against Liz Carmouche, who has looked up and down as well, is on the card. I'm not sure if there's anything else that sticks out to you.
No, that's about it, I'd say. We've been spoiled for MMA. 218 went down the weekend, and I think this is an excellent main event.
Top three, main event is quality.
I think the top three are great fights.
And that's why we covered them.